Hello, my name is Sandra Merritt. I'm the new director of Club W. I want to welcome you to this presentation this evening, Confidence and Your Health, presented by Stacy Kerns. I'm going to turn it over to Stacy now and let her tell you a little bit about herself before she gets started with her presentation. Stacy?
Thank you, Sandra. Hello to everyone out there. I can't see you, but I hope you're there. It's very nice to be here tonight. I am Stacy Kerns. I'm a registered nurse and now a certified positive psychology practitioner. I'm here in Kansas City. I've been here for about 25 years. I've worked in healthcare for 28 years, and the majority of that time has been spent in emergency medicine, half my life, actually, 23 years. In the last 6 years of my career, I was fortunate enough to serve as the director of emergency services at North Kansas City Hospital. And it was in that position that I became extremely passionate about human well-being and resilience. And that passion led me to discover the field of positive psychology, which hopefully is new for some of you out there tonight, and I can show you what that is. I spent a big part of 2020 in the pandemic, earning my certification in applied positive psychology from the Flourishing Center in New York City. It was a 9-month program. There was a cohort of about 25 people from all over the world. And for 9 months, 2 nights a week, we Zoomed to study the science and theory of positive psychology and to practice its application. And I'll tell you, this was truly one of the best experiences of my life. That program turned out to be very transformative for me personally, which honestly was a bit expected. You know, my goal in doing that program, that certification, was to learn all that I could to help other people. And I certainly will do that, hope to do that. But what I quickly realized early on in my training was that I was not flourishing. I wasn't even languishing. I was, in fact, suffering. I was experiencing what I now know to be extreme burnout, which I thought I had a good understanding of prior to my training, but I was wrong. I was in a role where I wasn't able to use my strengths. I wasn't well. My well-being was in jeopardy. So I took what I was learning in my program and I applied it to my own life and situation. And this eventually is what led to what I like to call a career pivot. So I now refer to myself as a recovering ER director. And this past July, I left my position in the emergency department. I closed that chapter and transitioned to another role, still at North Kansas City Hospital, but a role that involves the ability to use more of my character strengths and better allows for my time and energy to do the things that are important to me, one of which is growing my practice in positive psychology. Now, not advocating that everybody go out and quit their jobs and, quit their positions. It's not what I'm saying. It's not for everybody. But what I do want to influence people to do is to take stock in your life where you are and ask yourself, what am I doing? How do I feel? Do I feel good? Am I doing things that fulfill me? And if not, ask the right questions, seek the right help to maybe find something that better fits and just to improve your well-being. So I am extremely happy to be here today. So grateful for this opportunity to share with you how you can apply positive psychology in your life to boost your confidence and ultimately lead to a healthier you. So in case positive psychology is a new term for anyone, I want to share what it is and how it's different from the psychology that we commonly know. So psychology as we know it is the scientific study of the human mind and its functions, especially those that affect behavior, right? So traditional psychology, we diagnose, we treat disease with medications and therapies. Positive psychology is sort of an umbrella under there. It's an adjunct to the world of psychology. They work very well together. But positive psychology is the scientific study of what makes humans flourish, what leads to a positive mental outlook, what leads to overall life well-being. And it does that by using scientific-based research evidence, theories, and tools to help individuals find the power within and discover their inner strength and abilities to achieve well-being. It's not therapy, it's not advice. It's really more of a, used oftentimes as a coaching relationship to ask the right questions and help guide people through the right tools to improve their well-being and to flourish. Martin Seligman is sort of known as the founding father. If you look into positive psychology, you will find his name. He is a psychologist that very much advocated for positive psychology, and he used what's called or developed what's called the PERMA model. That's the model that we follow in positive psychology. And so PERMA, P-E-R-M-A, it stands for positive emotions. So we talk a lot about that and learn different tools, engagement, relationships, meaning, and then accomplishment. And the model that I had in my program actually was PERMA V. They added a V on the end, which stood for vitality, to really kind of encompass that physical well-being piece of it. The founder of the Flourishing Center is very passionate about physical health, and so she added that on to, she was a student of Martin Seligman, and she added the V onto that PERMA model. All right, so we're talking about confidence today, confidence in your health, how being confident can lead to a healthier you. So if you Google the definition of confidence, this is what you would see: a feeling of self-assurance arising from one's appreciation of one's own abilities or qualities. And so self-assurance, we think, what is self-assurance? It's really that belief in yourself, your own abilities, or your character. And confidence and health go hand in hand. They really perpetuate one another. And so hopefully I will be able to show that tonight and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about. So confidence is a broad term, and being confident, being self-confident is just one concept under the umbrella of overall confidence. There's also self-efficacy and self-esteem, and these concepts overlap. They have different meanings, but they overlap. They're very similar. They're the same, but they're different, if that makes any sense. So self-efficacy, that's a belief in your ability to execute, to do things, execute behaviors necessary to be successful in whatever you do, human endeavors, right? You believe that no matter what comes your way, you are going to be able to do, figure out, find the resources, find the support to accomplish whatever it is, or to navigate through whatever it is you're going through. Self-confidence is a feeling of trust. You trust yourself. You trust your abilities, your qualities, and your judgment. And this is really more of an outward projection. This is how other people may see you. When you see some, when you describe someone as, man, they seem really confident. This is somebody who, isn't showing off, but they just, you can tell that they trust in their abilities and their qualities. Self-esteem, that begins from early childhood. And it's really that inner voice. It's how you see yourself on the inside. Generally, it's invisible to the outside world, and it doesn't come from skills. It comes from that inner voice, that confidence in your own worth or your abilities. So essentially that self-respect. So I like to always tell people, be kind to what you say on the inside, because you're listening. So maybe she's born with it. We all remember the Maybelline slogan, right? Maybe she's born with it. Maybe it's Maybelline. That actually, fun fact, is the most recognizable streamline tagline for the past 150 years. But the truth is confidence. We talk about confidence. Confidence is not an innate trait. We aren't just born with it. You're not just born with it or not born with it. You have it or you don't. The great news, really great news, is that confidence is something that you can actually develop. It's a quality that's gained through experiences. It takes time and practice. So I was happy to see when I looked at this back in 2016, Maybelline actually changed their motto. No longer maybe she's born with it, and their motto now is make it happen. It's really about inspiring women to express themselves, to be confident enough and empowered to find their own beauty. Because it is something that you can develop. So my goal for tonight is that you have a better understanding of the things that you can do to build your own confidence, because confidence is good for you. So here's what the research tells us. Research tells us that self-reliant and confident people are healthier and they live longer. They perform better, whether that's physically or cognitively. They have healthier relationships. They're willing to step outside of their comfort zone and try or learn new things, and they're resilient. They have a greater capacity to recover and grow after difficulties. And so what I want to talk about tonight, is why this is. What's the connection, and how do we build our confidence? How do we build our efficacy and our self-esteem? So I think it's really important to not confuse confidence and arrogance. There is a difference. Some people shy away from confidence because they fear coming across as arrogant or conceited. They sort of snuff that confidence because they don't want people to think that they're, tooting their own horn or they're showing off. So I think it's really important to talk about the difference. But, overall, confidence is attractive and arrogance is distasteful. Confidence is beautiful. And so speaking of beautiful, this picture here is a good friend and mentor and just a perfect picture. I said, hey, can I use that? I'm giving a talk on confidence. I need to use that. And of course she was gracious. Amazing human. Her name is Jana Thomason. She's also known as the Enneagram nurse. She's a real life process coach and Enneagram specialist. So if you haven't already come across her, check her out on Instagram or Facebook. She's got some great stuff out there and doing some amazing things. So to continue that kind of arrogance versus confidence, what's the difference? I think a simple way to think of the difference is confidence is a belief. It's a belief in yourself, whereas arrogance is really an exaggeration of yourself. So confidence, you believe in yourself. Arrogance, you exaggerate yourself. So I found some of these great, descriptors, if you will. And so, arrogant people, they get their self-worth, generate their self-worth by downing others, by, putting other people below them. Whereas confident people really gain their self-worth from their own accomplishment, skills, and abilities. Remember that belief in their self. Arrogant people know it all. Confident people learn. Confident people are not afraid to say, I don't know. Arrogance smirks, confidence smiles. Arrogance is believing that you are more valuable than others, whereas confidence is believing that you are of value. Arrogance requires advertising, confidence speaks for itself. So I thought those were very good descriptors of the difference there. So what's the connection? What's the connection between confidence and how does that relate to health? And what do we even mean when we say health? I mean, there's physical health, there's mental health, there's overall well-being. And I really think that confidence building or confidence leads to all those things. And hopefully I'll be able to show that here. So the real reason that confidence leads to health is that confidence is a positive emotion. Just like joy, gratitude, hope, awe, love, amusement, confidence, self-confidence, self-esteem, those are all positive emotions. And when we're filled with positive emotions, we feel good, right? Confidence or the belief in our abilities, our skills, and our worth, those all lead to a motivation, an energy, and a mindset that makes it more likely that we'll do things that are good for us and make healthier choices. Positive emotions also release the feel-good chemicals, serotonin, dopamine in the brain. Those are those feel-good chemicals that just make things better. The mind is also very powerful. It can affect us both mentally and physically. It can work for us. It can work against us. So it is essential to experience those positive emotions and foster a healthy mindset. Positive emotions really open us up to new possibilities. We're better able to learn things and build new skills. In regard to performance and engagement, positive emotions improve those. You have improvements in your work life, physical, mental health, social relationships, community involvement, so many things. At work, and I don't just mean at your physical place of work, but at work, whatever your work is, whatever it is you do, positive emotions leads to that enhanced self-efficacy, that belief that you have the ability to do what it is that you want and that you want to do. Positive emotions also allow us to moderate and mediate recovery from stress. So when we go through, bad things, the more we experience positive emotions, the better we can handle those times of stress and when things don't go the way that we want it to. And there's really different positive emotions that lead to different outcomes in relation to making choices. So, great. I'm confident. That's good for my health. Confidence, something that you either have or it's not something that you either have or don't. Rather, you can develop it. So, right, that's good news. So now what? What are some things that you can do to become more confident and improve your self-efficacy and self-esteem? How do you actually make it happen? So I'm going to share some habits. Some are physical, some mental, some emotional, some spiritual, but things that we can do regularly, right? Habits, maybe call them practices or routines, whatever you want to call it, but they're things that can improve your confidence and your mental capacity and your overall well-being. So the first thing is practice optimism. And yes, practice. Optimism is something that can be developed. It is essentially a choice. You know, people are often labeled as an optimist or a pessimist as if it's an innate quality. It's just the way I am. It's the way I was born. I can't help it. I've always been this way. That's not real. It's what we think, but it's not real. The truth is that optimism and pessimism, for that sake, it's a mindset, and mindsets don't have to be fixed. We can change our minds. It's okay to change your mind. It's good to change your mind. That's how we grow and progress as humans. And that growth mindset is really what leads to better resilience. So some things that you can do to practice optimism. Number one, smile. Smile and posture. And I don't just mean posture, how you sit up in your chair, but how you carry yourself throughout the day, right? Get dressed, put on something that makes you feel good. It doesn't have to be a suit. Maybe that brand new sweatsuit that you got at Target is what makes you feel good. So put that on, put some makeup on if that makes you feel good. Do your hair. But as you carry yourself through the day, smile and have a posture. Look at people, say hi when you pass people in the hall or wherever you're at. Look up, stop looking at your phones, look up, pay attention to the people in your surroundings. Practice gratitude. So if anyone came to me and said, Stacy, this is great, but, I don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth, baby steps. Just give me one thing. Just tell me one thing that I can do to, improve my confidence, improve my overall well-being. If I had to name just one thing, I'd start here with gratitude practice, because there's so much research and science behind it. And when you practice gratitude regularly, so you make a habit out of it, it actually changes the molecular structure of your brain. True stuff. So it releases dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter in our brain. And dopamine is what makes us feel, it's that gratification. It's that role. It plays a role in that feeling of reward, motivation, and pleasure. It's also crucial in helping us focus. It helps with motivation. It helps with cognitive flexibility and emotional resilience. So they actually did some studies with MRI where they had two groups of people, and they put them both in an MRI. And the one group that they put through MRI, they asked to just think about a time that they were grateful. So just think about an experience that you had where you felt grateful. And the second group that they put in the MRI, they not only had to think about what an experience where they were grateful, but they had to actually speak it. They had to express it. So they had to say, this one time this happened, it made me feel really, really good. I was very grateful for it. And then, of course, they scanned these people's brains. And those people who expressed, they actually spoke aloud their gratitude, their memory of gratitude, their scans showed an increase in brain activity in sort of the medial prefrontal cortex of the brain, which really leads to those feel-good chemicals. It activated the hypothalamus, which helps us sleep. It activated the areas in the brain that makes us crave the experience of giving. So that's actually a thing where there's things that we can do. Gratitude actually makes us want to do more for other people. And it's like a muscle. The studies show that the more you practice it, the stronger you get at it. So things that you can do, it might be, three things. You wake up every morning, you express three things that you're grateful for. Maybe it's when you go to bed at night. Some people do a gratitude journal or gratitude jar. One of my cohorts in my program, her and a group of about 3 other friends, they've had a gratitude text going for over 10 years now. Every morning, group text, they all get on, share what they're grateful for, and it's something that really has improved their overall well-being. So practice gratitude. And like I said, if I had to suggest one thing to do, that's where I would start. Feel your feelings, not just the positive, but also the negative, right? Optimism does not mean that you can only think happy thoughts. That's actually positive, toxic positivity, and we don't want that. So, adversity and negative feelings, they're part of life. We can't avoid them. So when you have your feelings, again, whatever they are, positive or negative, sit with it. Recognize what you're feeling and just let it be. Don't fight it. Acknowledge it. Process it. Don't avoid it or, just stuff those feelings, those negative emotions down. Let yourself feel those feelings and process it. Name the feelings. Acknowledge what you feel and why. A saying that we have in positive psychology is, if you can name it, you can tame it. So feel your feelings. Surround yourself with positive people, right? Positive people, again, not just toxic positive people who, Mary Sunshine, nothing ever goes wrong, but a positive support system, people who are good for you, people who make you happy, or people who just hold space for you when you just need that. Also, resilient people who flourish in the face of adversity. Surround yourself with those people. They're very inspirational. And then, a mental agility. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. I'm going to say that again. Focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So don't focus on the negative. A good example of that I'll share was what I went through during my program, and with, kind of going down my career path, is that, I was struggling. I was struggling with my role, with the job. It was a pandemic. I'm in healthcare. I'm in ER. It's one of the most stressful times of my entire career, and, extreme burnout. And every day my focus was, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. I don't want to do this anymore. I can't do this. And so you become consumed with those negative things. And so one of the things I did as I was going through this certification, and what I learned is to flip the switch, to, acknowledge those negative things. Don't ignore them, but turn it positive. Start focusing on not what you don't want, but what you want. So, even I began to journal, like, this is what I want my day to look like. This is how I want to feel when I go to work or when I do work. This is the type of people I want to be around. And so, again, switch that focus to what I actually wanted, instead of just focusing on the things that were not making me happy. Daily movement. So anything that you read and study, when you read this stuff, they're going to say exercise. I personally avoid that word because I think that it can have a negative connotation to some people. If somebody comes up to me, and those of you, if you're out there, people who know me, this about me, you say, hey, Stacy, let's go exercise. I'm going to be like, yeah, I gotta stay home and wash my cat. It's just, I'm not a natural born exerciser. I don't like it. I really envy those people who love it. But movement, physical exertion, it's important. It's good for us. And so, one of the things we can do is just make a goal to have daily movement, whether it's, it might be dancing, walking, running, lifting weights, maybe Tai Chi or yoga, maybe biking, maybe just gardening, to get out and just move. One motivator for physical exertion, though, is that it does get your heart rate up. It's good for our vascular system, but it also completes our stress cycle. So when we go through a stressor, it's a process. And for us to really, get over that and have the resiliency and work through it, it's kind of a cycle that we have to complete. And physical exertion is one of the things that completes that stress cycle. If you are a woman, and I think there's a lot of you out there, hopefully, and you have not read the book called Burnout, I think it's actually Burnout, The Secret to Unlocking the Stress Cycle. It's written by twin sisters, Emily and Amelia Nagoski. But it's amazing. It's a book about burnout that I've read a lot about burnout, and it's not your typical burnout book. Very inspirational to women too. So if you haven't read it, run out to your Amazon account, get this in your car right now, read that book. These sisters also very interesting what they do, but they were also on a Brene Brown podcast that was really good as well. So very, very, very good. I highly recommend that. But back to movement, exercise, physical exertion, whatever you want to call it, it's good for us. It does many things. It protects us from disease. It helps our immunity. It helps us sleep. It helps with weight management. Again, good for our vascular system, helps with blood pressure and heart health. It reduces anxiety and depression, improves our memory and brain function, and it keeps us sharp, both mentally and physically as we age. Good for our joints. It's really good for us. So get out there, move every day. Eat nourishing foods. So real talk, food is medicine. I'm actually thinking about getting that tattooed, maybe like right here on my hand where, you know, the fork meets the mouth, but food is medicine. Dr. Mark Hyman, if you've ever heard of him, he's a physician, but also an author, leading expert and advocate on functional medicine. And his research, his studies, his practice has led him to become very passionate about the link between nutrition and wellness, or nutrition and, quite frankly, disease. And he actually says that every time you take a bite of food, consider that you're programming your biology for either health or disease. Right. So when you eat healthy food, when you eat nourishing foods, foods that are good for you, you are in fact eating medicine that can heal you. So we should not just, you know, everything in moderation, but, you know, our focus should be feeding our body, not just feeding our body, but actually nourishing it. So particularly what foods are good, right? So many different diets out there, so many different opinions, theories, whatever you want to call it, but you know, some basic nutritional, you know, facts. We really want to get more of what we call mood boosting foods, mood boosting nutritious foods that are full of vitamins and minerals, and those good fats that we know are good for our brain health. So unrefined carbohydrates, we should not cut those out of our diet. Unrefined carbohydrates, so those whole grains, your non-starchy vegetables, your legumes and nuts, they actually help the brain receive more serotonin, that feel-good chemical in our brain. It's that chemical, it's a chemical messenger in our brain that actually stabilizes our mood. Sometimes it's called the happy chemical. It also helps us sleep and causes feelings of just overall well-being and happiness. So get your unrefined carbs. Serotonin is also found in foods that contain tryptophan. So most commonly, Thanksgiving coming up, tryptophan is found in turkey, found in meats, fish, eggs, and cheese. Omega-3 fatty acids, again, those fatty fish, oily fish, salmon, sardines, mackerel, all very, very good for our brain health. Vitamin D rich foods also increase that serotonin, or that happy chemical in the brain. So you can get vitamin D, a good source are eggs, again, oily fish and yogurt. Vitamin B is needed for energy. Low levels are actually been found to be associated with depression. So eat your spinach, eat your broccoli, again, healthy meats, dairy, and eggs to get a good dose of vitamin B in daily. Selenium, also a mood boosting vitamin mineral. So low levels of selenium are often found with people with very low mood, so like depressive type symptoms. So again, meat, whole grains, Brazil nuts, oats, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, all high in selenium. And then, of course, you know, everything in moderation. We need to limit our sugar, caffeine, and our alcohol. So eat nourishing foods. All right, sleep. This is where I start to get passionate. Sleep is restorative. It is essential for our brain function. It is essential for stress relief. It is essential for trauma release. It is, you know, helpful to boost our immunity. It helps our hormones work better. And it's an emotional stabilizer, right? From toddler to adult, people who don't have enough sleep, right? Their moods and their emotions are not stable. Sleep is also underrated. It's something that people will easily forego. It reminds me of back when I worked night shift, and for all of you shift workers, which I wish didn't have to be. But, you know, how many times have you heard, or those of you who do shift work, you know, I worked all night, I've got a lot of stuff to do today. Well, when are you going to sleep? Well, I'm just going to stay up all day. So it's that one thing that people will easily forego. Exhaustion as a badge of honor. That's been around for a long time, and it needs to be thrown in the trash. We need to normalize the need for sleep, lots and lots of sleep. You know, when people, you hear people say, oh, I only need like 3 or 4 hours, right? Almost as if they're bragging on the fact that they don't need very much sleep. And to that, I tell them, you're wrong. Actually, you do. You need more sleep. Insomnia is prevalent. You know, studies, when they studied people for the effects of insomnia, anywhere from 10 to 50% of the populations that they study suffer from insomnia. It's much more prevalent in women, and it's detrimental to our health. You know, sleep deprivation is very dangerous. It affects our performance. It impairs our ability to make decisions. It damages relationships. It increases the risks of accidents, particularly motor vehicle crashes, and really just leads to an overall decline in the quality of life. When you have prolonged lack of sleep, lack deprivation, you do not do well. So aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. And I know there's people out there like, oh, there's no way I can get that much sleep. So, you know, aim for, work on it, work on your sleep hygiene, some things we're going to talk about here. So I was recently actually introduced to a guy by the name of Andrew Huberman. He is a neurobiologist, neuroscientist, and a professor of neurobiology at Stanford University School of Medicine out in California. And he leads the research lab there on neuroplasticity. So neuroplasticity, so fascinating and so hopeful, because neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to actually reorganize and reprogram. So just great stuff. He is, his brain, I don't know how he fits through the door. His brain has to be so big, so smart. He covers a lot of stuff. He's also very interested in ophthalmology. So he does a lot of stuff with the eyes too. But he does a lot with sleep, has done a lot of research, and has a lot of information out there. One of the things that he recommends that I've actually never seen before when you're talking about, you know, how are ways we can get better sleep, he actually recommends to view sunlight both when you wake up in the morning, or in the morning. So get direct exposure to sunlight in the morning, and then also to get direct exposure to sunlight late in the afternoon. And so the sunlight in the morning is really about triggering the timing of our hormones. We have naturally occurring hormones in our body, cortisol, melatonin, that help regulate our sleep. And so by exposing yourself to sunlight in the morning, it sort of triggers the timing of those hormones. And then the exposure to the evening sunlight is what sort of anchors our internal clocks and encourages the correct level of sleep, of our sleep-inducing hormones, melatonin. So we already have melatonin in our bodies. I know a lot of people take that as a supplement. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But having that exposure to sunlight in the morning and the evening is what sort of triggers those naturally occurring hormones that we have. Some other things that he talks about is consistent wake up time. Try to establish a consistent wake up time. He also talks about, you know, going to sleep if you're tired. Don't push through. Don't try to force yourself to stay awake. If you're tired, your body's telling you need sleep. You know, of course, try to avoid caffeine or any other stimulants within 8 to 10 hours of bedtime. Sleep apps. And just as I have no conflict of interest. I don't have any affiliation with any of the things that I'm talking about. It's just things that I've come across that have helpful. So lots of sleep apps out there. The one I'm most familiar with is the Calm app. They have sleep stories. It's very, very helpful. Andrew Huberman actually talks about an app called Reverie, Reveri. I haven't really dug into this or used it. It actually uses a form of sleep hypnosis. And again, I haven't done it, but I do have a friend who has tried it and is having really good outcome, really good relief with that, able to sleep. So interesting stuff. You know, avoid bright lights. Of course, don't have bright lights in your bedroom where you sleep. Don't have your computer in there, your phone. Make sure that your room is cool and dark. Limit daytime naps. And then he does talk about supplements too. So, sleep aids, again, insomnia is prevalent. So sleep aids, there's tons of stuff out there, both, prescription and non-prescription. But the research out there on commonly used sleep aids really shows that if you use those regularly, it's really not good for you. It actually sort of harms your sleep cycle. So again, whether it's prescription or non-prescription, it's probably okay to use those things short term. Maybe you're on a trip, you have a long flight, you sleep the whole time, but using them long term, or using other depressants such as alcohol really messes up your sleep cycle. Some things that, why those aids are not good for you. Some are habit forming. You can get addicted. Some cause memory lapses. Some actually cause dehydration. A lot of them cause drowsiness even after sleeping. You sort of have that hangover effect. And then a number of them, if you stopping them actually causes what they call a rebound effect, where the insomnia actually is worse than it was before you started taking that. So I just really caution people with traditional, I know a lot of people who, Benadryl, I take Benadryl every night, and it's not the best thing for you. Even melatonin, people think, oh, it's natural, it's a supplement, we have melatonin in our bodies already. But supplementing melatonin, introducing melatonin can actually disrupt your circadian rhythm, so that internal clock that tells us when it's time to sleep and is also responsible for our sleep-wake cycles. So again, I'm not a physician. I have no affiliation with Andrew Huberman, but just of my experience, he does recommend a few supplements that I have been using with a whole lot of success. And so I can put them in the chat at the end. There's three, kind of this trifecta of sleep is apigenin, and then a magnesium threonate, and then L-theanine, which you can get anywhere. So anyway, Andrew Huberman, great information on sleep. You can find him anywhere, obviously, just look him up on the internet. He's this website that I have here at the bottom of my slide, Aspen Brain Institute. He kind of goes through an entire toolkit for sleep. And again, this guy's brilliant. He does tons of research and really has information on sleep hygiene and things we can do to sleep that we don't normally see. So very interesting. I would recommend it. All right. Meditation. So if you are not someone who meditates, what I want you to do is throw out any notions that you may have about meditation. Just throw them out the door tonight. Just pretend like you've never heard about meditation. This is the first time you've ever heard about it. We're going to talk about it. All the can'ts. I can say these because I was this person. I said these things. Oh, I can't meditate. I can't turn off my mind. I can't relax. I can't sit still. Oh, I can't bend my legs like that and stay in that posture. I don't have the time. All the excuses. So just humor me and let's, just start fresh with meditation, because there's more than one way to meditate or get the benefits of meditation. And it doesn't have to be done the way that we think it has to be done, where you're, in a quiet room, sitting in the whole folded legs position. There's other ways. So there is tons of research and scientific-based benefits on meditation. And again, when it's done regularly, when you make it a practice, it actually changes our brain. There are many, both neurological and physiological benefits to meditation. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Meditation simply is breathing. It's about breathing. It's about focusing on your breath. And so, sit quietly, lay quietly. I generally lay down when I meditate, if I can, and just start breathing. Slow, deep breaths in, big, slow, deep breaths out, and focus your mind on the breath. Now, your mind is going to wander. That's normal. When your mind wanders, it's okay. Just acknowledge it. If you're you're breathing, you're relaxed, you're breathing, and all of a sudden your mind goes to, your grocery list and what you're going to make for dinner tonight. Just say, oh, I'm thinking about my groceries. I'm going to do that later. Right now, I'm going to get back to the breath, and bring your focus and your attention back to the breath. That breathing also is very, very good for us because it engages our parasympathetic nervous system, right? So it's that gets us out of that fight or flight and gets us more into that rest or digest. And so you cannot go wrong with breath work and breathing and meditation. Mindfulness or presence is also meditative. So, and what I mean by that, it's so easy to do is, let's say you're walking through a garden, right? You're walking through a garden, you just focus, focus on what you see, what you hear, what you smell. Maybe it's you come across the, stream, you're out hiking and there's a stream and you just stop and just listen and focus to the stream. Just keep your focus on that sound. Maybe it's, sitting outside and watching the clouds. Maybe it's, watching your dog play. Maybe it's, staring at the stars, whatever it is. Again, it doesn't have to be that, common meditate, breathing. It's also just having that presence and that mindfulness with whatever you're doing. Maybe it's cooking dinner where you just focus. You focus on again, what you see, what you smell, how the ingredients mix together. It's really just that purposeful stuff. So tons of, like I said, research and science-based benefits. They're here on the slide. So meditation, it reduces stress, it controls anxiety, promotes emotional health, enhances our self-awareness. We become more self-aware, helps lengthen our attention span. It can reduce age-related memory loss, so it's very, very good for our brains. It can actually make us kinder, and I don't know about you guys, but I think we need a little bit more kindness in the world right now. So meditation, again, those chemicals in the brain, it changes the brain. It's that neuroplasticity, and it actually makes us want to be kinder to other humans. It's also used, it can help a lot in addiction programs because it can help as an adjunct to fight addictions. It helps with sleep, helps control pain. It's good for blood pressure. And the best thing is it's accessible. Like you can do it anywhere. You don't have to have an app. I think they're helpful, especially if you're new to meditation. But you really can just sit, quiet your mind, focus on the breath pretty much anywhere that you are. So highly, highly recommend meditation. All right, prioritize your health. Prevention. So get your screenings and checkups. Maybe it's baseline lab work, maybe it's your mammogram, pap smear, colonoscopy. Get those. Screening and treatments are important. It's important steps toward living a longer, healthier life. Medicine is very advanced. Early detection saves lives and is a predictor of favorable outcomes. So cannot stress enough preventive medicine. Functional medicine is also an approach that you can take to improving your health. Not necessarily to be a substitute preventive medicine. I don't advocate for that, but more to be used as an adjunct. Western medicine, treats disease. It usually focuses on alleviating symptoms of that disease, whereas functional medicine is more of a biology-based approach to health and wellness that focuses on the root cause of the illness, what's causing the symptoms, rather than just treating or alleviating the symptoms alone. So whether it's physical health or mental health or dental care, just establish yourself as a patient, find providers that you trust, and establish a good relationship with those people. Don't be afraid to change providers. You should be very comfortable with the person who you entrust your healthcare with. So another thing about confidence is that confident people speak up and advocate for their health, right? The more confident we are, the more apt we are to seek help, to speak up, to advocate, to get a second opinion, to change providers if the one that you had just doesn't feel right to you. So again, that confidence is a positive emotion. And when we experience positive emotions, we feel motivated. We tend to take control of our lives. We have the confidence to seek help and speak up. And prioritizing your health also offers peace of mind. As a nurse, I often say, ignorance is bliss. And if I have any other fellow nurses out there, you'll know what I mean. But as a nurse, we know too much. Every pain is, oh my gosh, could be this. And so sometimes we really drive ourselves crazy. And so, prioritizing your health, getting checkups, getting things checked out really offers that peace of mind. It can help alleviate anxieties about the unknown, because sometimes we fear the unknown, right? We're scared, we have concerns, we don't know, and we can start to ruminate. We ruminate on that. We ruminate on the what ifs, and that's really not healthy, because we're focusing on what we don't want, the negative, instead of focusing on what we do want. And so that can take up a lot of wasted mental capacity. And the mind is a very powerful thing, right? It's that saying, where the mind goes, the body follows. And so we really need to be careful about the thoughts that we have and the things that we're sort of feeding ourselves inside. So seek help for issues or health concerns that you might be having, again, whether it's physical or mental. I really want to emphasize or kind of plug for the mental health too, because it's getting better. But we do still have this stigma of seeking help for mental illness, right? I think there's this fear of being judged for some reason, or also, and that's the part that I think is getting better. You see a lot of stuff out there that talks about the importance of mental health, and it's okay to not be okay. But I also think that people sometimes they don't relate mental health is as important as physical health. So they think, oh, I'm just sad, or I'm just depressed, or I just, whatever. It's just thoughts. It's not, as important as my actual physical, body. But we really have to get past that. Mental illness is an illness, just like physical illness. And you wouldn't feel ashamed to go to your doctor for, a chronic cough, or high blood pressure, or pain, or pulled muscle, broken bone, right? And so you shouldn't feel ashamed to also seek help for your mental health as well. So if you're struggling with mental health, if it's causing you, issues, symptoms, harm, distress, if it's something that kind of interferes with your day to day, reach out, get help, coaches, counselors, therapists, physicians, get help. Don't ignore that. Mental health is just as important as your physical health. High quality connections, also very, very important. And I'm not talking about your internet access, although I do like a good high-speed internet. What I'm talking about are relationships and social connections, good, positive relationships. Because as humans, we are social species. It is in our nature to want to interact with other people. And there is tons of research on the detriments of loneliness on mental health and physical well-being. The research actually shows that good social relationships, so having people that we connect with and can depend on, those are actually the most consistent predictors of a happy life. If you study the science of happiness, which I think there's actually a book called that, you will find that the research consistently cites loneliness as the #1 predictor of poor health and illness, very detrimental. So good, high quality connections. Start with yourself and learn to enjoy solitude. Be okay to be by yourself. Be okay, get lost in the moment. Solitude is good for your soul. And it also, if you're okay to be by yourself, it also prevents that need to just constantly be around people, which sometimes isn't possible, right? So then you don't want to cause yourself distress that you can't be around people. And it also kind of prevents you from just always being around people just to be around people, which sometimes can be pretty meaningless. So start with yourself, enjoy solitude. Family and friends, know who fills your cup and spend more time with them, and have healthy boundaries. Hang out with people who make you feel good. Don't hang around with people that don't make you feel good or that are detrimental. And that includes family. We often, they're family, don't fall for that. Just because they're family or a close friend doesn't mean that you have to subject yourself to that angst or misery. So have healthy boundaries. That may look like having a crucial conversation to let that person know, or, to say to that person, today I'm not gonna, have a conversation, or I'm not going to come over, or whatever it is. Sometimes good self-care is not answering the phone when you know who calls. So healthy boundaries, very, very important. Reach out to good people that or even someone that you don't know, but you want to know. I had an acquaintance reach out to me just a few months ago, and somebody who I kind of knew, but hadn't really had a conversation with. And she reached out and said, hey, would you be open to, grabbing a drink one night? I want to hear your story. I want to get to know you better. And I thought, wow, how brave and how cool is that? Made me feel good. We got out, had a great evening, hopefully made her feel good too. But it was a good time. She caught me at a good time because it was, I was done with my certification. I kind of had went through a lot of things. I felt like I was starting to get my spark back. And so we met, we had a great evening. But I told her, I was very, open. I said, man, if you would have reached out to me 4 months ago, I wouldn't have even answered your message. So reach out to people and get to know them, be interested in others. Deep talk over small talk. I don't know about anybody else out there, but small talk makes me extremely uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Do I make eye contact? Am I making enough eye contact? Is it over? How do I get out of this? Like, just that small talk, that just uncomfortable, like not really sure to asking real superficial questions. So we can avoid it. We can avoid small talk, and not by avoiding the person or the situation or the experience, but by changing the quality of the conversation. So, instead of asking someone that proverbial, so what do you do for work? Don't just ask them, what do you do? Ask them what they love to do. Ask them what they're passionate about. Ask them what they do, on their free time. Ask them what they would do if, money wasn't an issue. Dig deeper and ask those deeper questions. We ask people, how are you? Don't just ask people, how are you? Because what do we do, right? You pass somebody and, oh, how you doing? I'm fine, or I'm good. Instead of asking people, how are you? Ask them what they're feeling. Ask them what they're feeling. How are you? And you just acknowledge, things have been rough lately. What are you feeling? How's that affecting you at home or at work, etc.? So deep talk over small talk. And then, join a group or an association, or start a book club, start any type of thing that gets you out there and starts connecting with other people. And then lastly, another way to boost confidence is by getting inspiration from others, because there is such tremendous power in stories. I love a good story, especially a story of triumph. Love it, love it, love it. I also love stories of revenge, but that's not appropriate for this talk, so I'll save it for another. But these stories are easy to find. YouTube, TED Talks, you can find all sorts of inspirational stories out there. Maybe someone personally that you can reach out to, schedule a coffee date, get to know their story. I ran across a healthcare system out of Louisville, Kentucky, Norton Healthcare, and they actually offer a free speaker series called Go Confidently. And I thought, oh, how appropriate. But they feature speakers who have overcome barriers and hardships and found success. These talks are very inspirational. They inspire people to go out and practice confidence in their daily lives. Lizzie Velasquez here on my slide, she's just one example out of thousands. And if you've never seen her story, give her a search. It's so interesting. She has a rare disorder that prevents her from gaining weight, which obviously also causes many other significant health issues. And she sort of first came to be known because she was called the ugliest woman in the world. Like, that was the headline, and in this sometimes sick world, that actually became news. So you may have seen that, woman named ugliest woman in the world, right? So can you just imagine that you see your picture all over the news with a headline like that? I mean, how easy would it be to hide from the world, right? Cut yourself off, be consumed with sadness and despair. But this lady, Lizzie, she made a choice. She flipped the script. She chose not to identify with how others saw her based on her physical appearance. And what she did instead was, show the world what an incredible person she is, and, who has overcome so much and now just confidently shares her story of will and determination with the world. So really is an amazing story, so inspirational. I think this is a good way to spend time. Sometimes downtime is just like, search YouTube. You can find Norton Healthcare, Go Confidently there, or TED Talks, and just listen to these stories of inspiration from other people's. It's very inspirational, obviously. All right, that is what I have today. I think we have about 6 minutes. If there is, thank you for joining. Thanks for listening. I hope you found this information helpful and hopefully feel inspired to maybe adopt some of the habits that we talked about. So I think we've got about 6 minutes. If anyone has any questions or information, thoughts that they would like to share, feel free to type them in the chat box. I think my friends there are kind of monitoring the chat box. My email is also here. Feel free to reach out or message me on social media. And yeah, any questions or thoughts anybody wants to share?
Stacy, thank you for that awesome presentation. Very enlightening. I do see that we have some questions from the participants. The first question is, how do you start eating more fruits and vegetables and other healthy foods if you have found you don't like them?
That's tough. That's hard. I think make sure that you try everything. I think make sure that try different ways. I once knew somebody who's like, oh, I hate asparagus. Asparagus is terrible. I said, really? You don't like it? What don't you like about it? Oh, well, it's just mushy. And I'm like, what kind of asparagus you're eating? Well, in the can, that's where you get asparagus. And I'm like, oh, no. You need some fresh asparagus, and so fed this person real asparagus, fresh. And they were like, wow, this is amazing. So I think, try lots of different things. Some things are an acquired taste. I think also mindset, find something that, oh, maybe I don't love it, but, focus on that, like Dr. Mark Hyman says, like what I'm eating is either going to nourish me, it's either going to cause me, good health, or it's going to cause me disease. And so, sometimes we just have to kind of trick ourselves, but try lots of things, try them different ways, reach out to people who are excellent cooks and see if they, because you may actually like something. It's just the way you've eaten it is something that you don't like.
Stacy, we have another question. Any thoughts on manifesting?
Oh, yes. Oh, I want to give an entire talk for that. Manifesting is wonderful. We talked about that in my program, not necessarily the word manifest, but no, actually we did. But I think that, doing a vision board is I have one right here above me. I think that, having a vision, again, it's that focus on things that you want. I think that it's very effective. I think it's very helpful. I highly suggest starting with a vision board. Define what you want. Gianna, the Enneagram nurse, she does some amazing programs on vision boards. Maybe her and I can get together and do another one. That's something that we could bring here probably, but I think that manifesting or having that vision, focusing on the things that you want is very, very effective and very helpful.
I have one more question, Stacy. Can anyone go through the program that you completed, and are there any prerequisites or requirements prior to taking it?
Great question. So there are a number of programs out there that, give certifications in positive psychology. The particular one that I attended is the Flourishing Center. It's out of New York City. It's been, it started about 13 years ago. Anybody can apply. There are no prerequisites. It's amazing. It's so much information. I chose that one because I did like the time, and it's highly credentialed, highly recommended, great professors. My professor was amazing. So that program, if you just, put in on Google, the Flourishing Center, it'll take you right to the site and you can read about it. Or if you just search, positive psychology certification, you'll see some of the other programs that are out there.
Well, Stacy, thank you again for your presentation. I did want to let the participants know that they'll be receiving an email with a link to your presentation for future viewing. And also, we will be putting this presentation on North Kansas City Hospital's YouTube channel. So I do want to thank everybody for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Great. Thank you so much. Everybody have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.